Okay, what's your name?
My name is Mauricio.
Hi, I'm Katelyn.
My name is Bryan.
My name's Christavelle.
Well, my name is Logan George Carter.
My name's Saigonti.
And what's your ethnicity or nationality?
I am half Peruvian, half Filipino.
Well, I come from a lot of places in Europe, not 100% sure, but then I'm also 25% Korean.
I am Vietnamese.
I am half Filipino, half Chamorro/Guamanian.
I'm Indian.
I'm Filipino-American.
How did you or your family get to the U.S.?
Well, my mom was born in Guam and my dad was born in the Philippines. His parents decided that they should move into U.S. territory so that they could hopefully have a better future for the children. My dad decided that Guam wasn't enough and they needed even more of the U.S. for a better future. So they decided to go to Sacramento, California.
To be honest, I don't know. I know my family kind of just got their citizenship last year. No, not last year. 2 years ago. My mom was the last one, so. But how they got here, I don't know. I know they came here and they were in Delano or something like that. They had to pick grapes for 50 cents an hour and they completely started from scratch. They were engineers and doctors in Philippines. But when they came here, it was you need to be a janitor, you need to do this, low paying jobs. And it was just super hard for them to adjust because of that.
I actually do not know. I don't know a lot about my family, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. My grandparents moved to Nebraska first before anyone else did, and then my dad just decided to come over.
What are some things that you love about your culture?
I think the diversity of it all. The common thing about Indian people is that we're all just the same. We all speak Hindi or something. But in actuality, there's 23 different languages, each with a couple million people that speak it and stuff. My family, for one, we speak a language in the south known as Telugu. In Chinese and stuff like that, there's Mandarin, Cantonese, they're dialects of each other. But in India, it's all just different languages. It's a really different people, and we're all just living similar cultures.
I don't know, I say the grit, because Filipinos work very hard to get where they are. My Filipino side, they would grow up, they would share one can of Spam, and there was 16, 17 kids.
I feel everyone says food if they're Filipino, food, the parties. I feel we're super hyped, so that's what I love about it.
I love how in Asian culture, my grandma always talks about how food is love in some ways. My grandma loves to cook for us, and she's a really good cook, so I love getting to eat her food sort of thing. And I like how I think because I'm Asian and because my family, my mom has Asian heritage and has grown up under that, it makes me a better host for sure. I never want anyone to come to the house and not be able to leave with food. Do you think your culture is appropriated in American society?
I don't think people really parade Vietnamese stuff. I think most of the attention goes to Korea and Japan, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think Vietnamese people are really appropriated in American culture.
The slanted eyes, remember how Asians used to get made fun of? Now it's the fox eyes. Yeah, they named it the fox eye, and I'm okay.
How important is it for you to see Asian Americans succeed on a mainstream level?
I think it's really important. I think it empowers the younger ones. It inspires them that they can do more than just what they're set into by their families. In sports, I would say when Jeremy Lin was playing, I did actually like Jeremy Lin a lot because he was an Asian point guard. And I'm short, and I want to play point guard. I can't say that I have the skills to play point guard, but I like to think that I could.
I think it's very important. Manny Pacquiao was kind of my childhood. If there's a Manny Pacquiao fight, everyone's watching the Manny Pacquiao fight in one house. So that's kind of a big thing. I mean, I played a lot of sports growing up. So seeing Shohei Ohtani, he's a big Asian American person in baseball, and he's also one of the best players in baseball right now. Just seeing that alone is that's a kind of a big deal. I don't even like baseball. I don't have a team. So I represent Shohei Ohtani. He represents me, and I'll show out for him. But I think it's a huge part because it kind of shows that we can do more than become a nurse, become a doctor, become a mailman, and stuff like that. So I think that's a very big part of my life, or what I like to see. People like Pilo, shout out Pilo. And it's not really exclusive to Filipinos. It's if you're Asian, a Filipino person will they'll rep you for sure.
I guess growing up Ryan Higa and stuff like that, I had like a period of my life where I was just like, I'm not Asian, I'm just gonna try and assimilate and be American and stuff. Growing up as like Indian post 9/11 and everything was like pretty tough because like if you're brown, you're bad, and like, you know, and it's just like, so I tried to just push that side of myself away. I didn't care for my culture at all. But I don't know, seeing Ryan Higa and stuff, like obviously I was like, oh, you don't really look like me, but you talk about similar issues that I feel at home. Maybe we're all like kind of similar and it's not that different, I guess.
What does it mean to be Asian American?
You're not what's on TV. Asian is portrayed on TV. I mean, we're here, we're listening to the same music, we're watching the same TV shows. Like, Asian American is just a person that is like a part of society, but they're still looked at differently because no one completely understands that like the Asian side of you isn't just you. You're a part of the melting pot. You're kind of mixed with everyone else now. And that's what's like kind of great about America and being Asian American.
I guess just like trying to figure out the mess of it all. There's your Asian heritage, there's your American heritage, and then you have to try to like find the mix in it. And that's something that like, we're like basically like the first generation where it's like in this new like internet age where like we know when we deserve more and stuff. So I guess to me being Asian American is just trying to figure out like the differences between your cultures and the similarities between others. Cause like, especially in like college and stuff, I feel like we're slowly starting to figure out that like all the clubs and orgs, we want like similar things in life as well. And then it's not so different where we need all these like fake boundaries and stuff. Like borders exist in ways that we don't need. Like they're made by colonizers and stuff. And like our cultures are all like really similar. Like as Asians, like I feel like as an Indian person, I go to Fasa, Jasa, everything, you know, and I hear like and see like the things that people talk about. I'm like, it's not so different than what I want, you know.
I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing, this is going really hyper specific, thing that my grandma and I have argued about. I feel like in Asian culture, it's more common to talk about people's bodies and the way they look, and it really frustrates me because I feel like body image and weight is something that everyone struggles with.
I feel like every Asian person like can relate to their grandparents calling them fat, or either
Or
too fat or
skinny.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
or, like-
you either are too fat or you're too skinny.
Yeah, it's always something like the first introduction. It'll be like, "Oh, Katelyn, you look so good." I'm like, "Okay, I don't need this. Like, let's just move past like the norm." Yeah, of course. And then it's a full discussion, and then like eating healthy, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, like let's just move past this." Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just something that's much more talked about in Asian culture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's not really talked about either. It's like Asians can judge each other hella hard. Like really
harder than
hard.
anyone else.
Yeah.
I also
for
feel
sure.
like the elder culture makes it hard too because my family is like my parents are definitely like superior to like in where we have to view them as like our superiors type thing, but like not as to the extent as most families. Like my parents also treat my sister and I as equals, so like we can have full-on conversations with different perspectives and like argue about it sort of thing. But like with my grandma, it's interesting because she's like, "No, Katelyn, that's not the way it is. Don't argue with me." I'm like, "Actually, Grandma, that's not true. Like, this shows all these other things." And it's interesting to consider how different the perspective is.
Like,
Mhm.
how has your Asian experience been at the UK?
It's had its ups and downs. I think freshman year it was really hard. My community back home was like there's a decent amount of like other Indian people, other Asian people, and then coming to U of A was kind of like shell shock because I always knew I was a minority, but it wasn't until I was at like a football game and I like looked around and realized, oh, there's only white people here, and I feel like I'm different. And then trying to find like a community and everything. Like I think halfway through my freshman year is when SASA was founded, like the South Asian Student Association. I went to a couple of their meetings and stuff, and it felt like it was starting to grow. I tried going to FASA a couple times, but it just felt pretty tough. And I was like, maybe I don't need to go into my Asian American identity. But after COVID happened, I realized how like important it is to get that community, you know. And it made me think about a lot of things about our values as like Asians and how similar they are with others. So I think after COVID, I'm definitely like having a better experience because I think everyone as a whole is more accepting of each other now.
I attended Jesuit High School in Carmichael, California. It's a predominantly white school, private, all boys, and so I was like pretty aware of the differences between like my household culture versus the school culture that I was coming from. You're more aware of the underlying things, but like when I went to Jesuit, there were some things that like those kids didn't know, and I was just like, it's probably because they were in a very sheltered household. You can see the same thing. I don't see any difference in it. I'm kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah, I would say it is so much better here than it was growing up. I'm pretty sure I've only made Asian friends here, and I like really enjoy it. I finally feel like I can talk to someone like more about my culture. Not to say that my friends back at home like weren't like approachable.
I never realized how big like Asian fetishes were until I started the U of A, and I was like, ew, that's gross. I met this one guy. He loves anime, right? And he has like a fetish for Asians, right? So he was just like, yeah, anime this, anime that. For the longest time, I thought it was Asian, and I was like, what? And he's clearly not. So I was like, okay. He was like, anime on Snapchat. I was like, I guess. And his username was Drunken Asian. I was like, whoa, okay.
No. Have you ever felt too Asian or not Asian enough?
I think not Asian enough. I don't look the part at all. When I tell people I'm Filipino and Hispanic, they're like, oh, really? I thought you were like straight Mexican or Polynesian or from Hawaii or from some type of island. It's like, I'm not what you think I am, sadly, but and stuff like that, but yeah.
Definitely not Asian enough. Like sometimes when like my friends at VSA like talk about Vietnamese stuff, and I just can't chime in because I honestly do not have the experience to back up whatever I would be saying. Like on a surface level, like I'm Vietnamese, but like if you trying to talk to me about like I guess more niche things about it, I could not give you a good answer.
I'd say not Asian enough. I'm not a STEM major. I'm an accounting major. I feel like I'm one of the only, not just Asian, but like Filipino people in like Eller. And then you kind of hear my name, Logan George Carter. So like if you look on paper, people probably assume I'm white. But yeah, I'd say because of my name, because of like the paths I've chosen, because of the sports I've played, I just feel like I'm not representing, or like I'm not the ideal Asian, I guess.
What advice would you give to someone who's been bullied because they're Asian or are struggling with their identity as an Asian American?
Honestly, just love your culture. I feel like that's all you could say. I felt like at one point I tried so hard to be white. And I feel like a lot of Asians that I've talked to in the past, they said they went through the same experience. But honestly, just love your culture. It's a beautiful culture.
Oh, and what did you do to act more white?
Okay, what did I do to be more white? Try to talk like as proper as I can. I was young. I was like, what, 8, 10, around that age. I kind of stopped when I was like 13 or something. Just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? That's just like too much work.
I don't think I have an answer for this really because I just kind of like took it. I mean, I was definitely like bullied for being different, like just for most specifically being Vietnamese. But even though I was bullied for it, I just didn't really care. Like, I'm different, so like, what of it? I mean, how does that make me less of a person than you are? It didn't really affect me much. It did not make me think that like being an Asian American like made me less of a person because people looked at me differently. I just thought that they were ignorant, if anything. Like, it's not my fault, it's yours. That's how I see it.
What do you want people to understand or remember this?
I guess just like the diversity within like Asian American populations, but also for Asian American people that are celebrating this month, realize that like we're all Asian, we all want similar things, and there's like a way to bridge these cultures and like grow together in an Asian American sense rather than just like these borders that were made by white people for us to live in.
PETA Heritage Month, huh? Well, pull up your favorite Wikipedia article of your favorite Asian ethnicity and learn all about it before you talk, please.
I guess like for them to take time out of the day to learn the Asian cultures and stuff like that, because I think it's really beautiful, but I feel like it's just so unappreciated, or like they only appreciate a part of it and not the whole thing.